Head coach Gus Bradley and general manager Dave Caldwell had a 3-year plan to rebuild the Jacksonville Jaguars when owner Shad Khan hired them in 2013. Well, it's now year 3 of the Bradley regime. While a playoff appearance is highly unlikely, improvement is a priority. Something more than the 4 wins in 2013 and the 3 last year is a must. The Jags were already dealt a major blow when their 3rd overall draft pick Dante Fowler was lost for the season with a torn ACL. The explosive edge rusher would have been a perfect fit as Bradley's Leo rusher. The defense is actually somewhat respectable, but the offense is an abomination. That's why the team brought in a new offensive coordinator in Greg Olsen, who was the Oakland Raiders OC the last 2 years. Last year, the Jags scored a league-low 15.6 points per game, allowed an NFL-high 71 sacks, and couldn't even run the rock even a little bit. And those 71 sacks were 13 more than Washington, which gave up the second most. Undrafted rookie Allen Hurns was a starter in Week 1 last year. That's how bad the wide receivers were. Julius Thomas was Jacksonville's big splash free agent signing, but he goes from having Peyton Manning as his quarterback to Blake Bortles. He's at his best in the red zone, but how many times will the Jags actually be inside the 20? If the offense does see some improvements, it does start with Bortles. He needs to take a step forward. He was awful last year. I get that, rookie quarterbacks, they struggle, but he was bad. It was one of the youngest rosters in the NFL last season. The 82 starts were made by rookies last year, by far the most in the league. Oakland was second with 63. So, before I go position by position, make sure you check my rankings below, unit rankings, player rankings. Click on that description box if you want to see them. But maybe you don't want to see them because it's Jacksonville. All right. I'll just say last preseason, Bortles looked pretty good. He looks like a franchise quarterback. He's got the size and arm strength and is at his best in the short to intermediate game. He does struggle with his deep ball, though, completing just 13 of his 50 attempts that were 20 yards or more last year. The big issue I had with him was that he got worse as the year went along. You're supposed to get better. I mean, he looked exceptional during the preseason, like I said before, but the mistakes kept piling up more and more, and it seemed like he was throwing pick sixes like every week, each week. It was terrible. Veteran and strong-arm quarterback Chad Henne is still on the team, so he'll be the backup. We'll see what happens with Bortles this year. The Jaguars are still looking for a running back to replace Maurice Jones-Drew. Toby Gerhart and his 3.2 yards per carry was not the answer last season. They drafted Alabama standout TJ Yeldon in the 2nd round to hopefully be that guy. I like Yeldon. I mean, he's a strong, instinctive runner who moves well laterally and can work both inside and outside the tackles. Gerhart will most likely be the short yardage back this season. Denard Robinson is elusive in space, but coming off a foot injury. Marqise Lee and Allen Robinson were both picked in the 2nd round last year with the hope that one would emerge as the top dog. And that guy might be Robinson. He has the size, uses it to his advantage in the red zone. He has good body control in the deep ball as well. Lee is more of a crafty, intermediate route runner with solid hands, but not really a vertical threat. Hurns led the team in receiving yards and scored 6 times in the red zone. He had his fair share of drops, though. Rashad Greene was drafted in the 5th round. He's got some speed, at his best working underneath. Thomas uses his basketball background when working in the red zone. He's physical when fighting for the ball. He has an impressive size-to-speed ratio. And backup tight end Marcedes Lewis, also a solid red zone target. Luke Joeckel hasn't lived up to his billing as the number 2 overall pick in 2013. He allowed a team-high 8 sacks a year ago. His technique and footwork, that he excelled at in college hasn't translated to the pro game as of yet. Added some bulk during the offseason, though. The Jags brought in Jermey Parnell from the Cowboys to be the right tackle. He filled in well for Doug Free at right tackle when he missed a few games last season. It'll be the first time in his career that Parnell will be a full-time starter. Center Stefen Wisniewski was another, off-season signing, but is coming off shoulder surgery. Tough, blue-collar worker, has good instincts. Luke Bowanko, a 6th-round draft choice last year. He's going to back him up. And might even start week 1. I'm not sure what Wisniewski's timetable is. The best lineman last year was third-round rookie Brandon Linder. He does a really good job finishing his blocks. Nobody knows who he is, but he's really solid. Third-rounder A.J. Cann was my top-rated guard heading into the NFL draft, but it appears that Zane Beadles will start at left guard. Beadles got better as the year went along last year after signing a big contract last offseason. Underrated defensive tackle Sen'Derrick Marqise is coming off an ACL tear. Extremely quick and versatile pass rusher, uses that quickness to disrupt the backfield in the run game as well. He can be pushed around, however. Roy Miller and sixth-round rookie Mike Bennett appear to be the starting defensive tackles while Marqise recovers. Jarrett Odrick was a solid offseason acquisition. He has length, athleticism, and quickness to get into the backfield. He flew under the radar during his time with Miami, but he will be making a transition from defensive tackle to defensive end this season. Andre Branch is the biggest beneficiary of the Fowler injury, enters a contract year. Ryan Davis had 6.5 sacks last year. Tyson Alualu hasn't lived up to a top 10 pick, but returns on a 2-year deal. Solid run stuffer. Paul Posluszny, he's back at middle linebacker on a 1-year deal after tearing his pec last season. He's a tackling machine who has instincts and a nose for the ball. Telvin Smith was solid as a rookie last year. He's a high-motor, downhill kind of player. Dan Skuta comes over from San Francisco, underrated for the Niners last year, solid run defender. Davon House signed from Green Bay, and the lengthy and physical corner that Bradley's looking for. Aaron Coleman, Demetrius McCray, or Dwayne Gratz will start opposite of him. Jonathan Cyprien is an in-the-box kind of safety, big hitter, strong and fast, struggles big time in coverage though. Sergio Brown appears to be the other starter at safety, while Josh Evans and rookie James Sample provide depth. Josh Scobie was traded to Pittsburgh, so Jason Myers will do the kicking, while Brian Anger tied for the league lead by averaging 47.5 yards a punt. Denard Robinson will return kicks. Rashad Greene will handle punt return duties. So, prediction time. Well. I've seen some publications that have the Jaguars ahead of the Titans this year. I don't see it. I think this team's still bad. It's still pretty bad. We'll see if, Bradley will get the boot after this year, because, I don't think he deserves so. I know he said 3-year plan, but this was a massive rebuild. This Jaguars team is just not very good right now, and it's still going to take some time. So I'm thinking 3-13. I think it's going to be another tough year, and I wouldn't give Bradley the boot at all. I think Conn's got to give him another year, at least another year or two. I think Bradley's a good get. He's a good coach, and you got to be patient with this team. So that's the way I kind of look at it. So we'll see what happens. But if they go 3-13, 4-12, he might be out of a job, and that would be a shame. And I'm sure he would get another opportunity somewhere down the line. So there's that. 3-13. I don't have the Jags as the worst team in the league, but second to worst. So yeah. All right. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at @TheBitterBirds. I'm out of here. Later. Oh, man. This was my shortest preview. Not really a surprise. The Jaguars are probably the most boring team in the NFL.